Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Well, today's video is going to be very different than anything you've ever seen on my channel, and probably you'll never see a video like this again. But I really wanted to share this story with you guys. This is a story of the Saxtown axe murders. This took place in 1874, and I was just browsing around Reddit and stumbled upon the story, and I was like, Saxtown, we have a Saxtown in my area, actually a Saxtown road. So looking it up, very quickly realized this is right in my backyard, like less than 10 miles away. But it took place in 1874, so I think that's why I never heard about it. Because I'm 52, lived here all my whole life, and I've never heard the story. A bit shocked that I haven't. It's a very gruesome murder of a family of five. The grandfather, Carl, the son, Frederick or Fritz, who was 35, his wife, Anna, and their two small kids, including a baby. All brutally murdered. Just a horrific story that took place back in 1874. Kind of shocked the nation is what I've read. It was newspapers that carried the story. It was just so horrible. Like 1,000 people showed up at the funeral. So what I'm going to do today is drive by the property where the house was. It no longer is, it no longer exists. The house is gone. Another house has been built there. I believe it was torn down in the 50s, but there is the barn. The barn that they actually built and used still stands right next to the road. Now, I've not talked to the property owner. I'm not going to trespass. I'm just going to drive by. Because the barn is pretty much all you can see, and it's right next to the road. So there's not like we're going to miss a lot by not getting out and walking around. Then we'll go out to the cemetery where they are buried in other unmarked burial plots, but we should be able to locate roughly where the bodies are. Just kind of discuss this. So as we drive out there, I will kind of tell you the story from memory and what all happened that day, and then we'll get out there and look at these places. So let's get on the road and we'll be right back. Okay, so we're heading out towards the location now. It's a little ways out here, a few miles to go. So the story is that the family of five, as I mentioned earlier, the grandfather, the son, his wife, and their two kids were all murdered in their sleep back in 1874 on the day of March the 19th. The father is Carl, and their last name is Stesenried. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I love the German names around here I'm familiar with. This is a name that I don't think is too common around here anymore. I've never heard of it. But the father was 70, the son Frederick 35, his wife Anna 28, and then her two kids, Carl was 3, her son Carl, and Anna, I guess that the mother and the daughter had the same name. Anna, the daughter, was only 8 months old, so she was just a little bitty infant at the time. So the neighbor, last name Schneider, was the one that discovered the bodies. He noticed that the house there was nobody around. Back in the day, someone would always be out tending to the animals. And he opened the door, and that's where he found Frederick or Fritz on the floor in a pool of blood. And the blood was spattered everywhere. It was ceiling, walls. It was just horrific. Then he found the father, Carl, near a doorway. There is a diagram that I guess the sheriff or somebody at the time drew of where the bodies were located. If I find that, I'll put that up here in the video. So he found Carl. I think he was nearly decapitated. And then they found the mother, of course, in the bedroom with the son deceased and the daughter actually laying on top of the mom, supposedly. It's really just difficult to even talk about. Very, very morbid, of course, this whole story. This is back when these roads, like I'm traveling here, would have all been dirt roads. So the local sheriff out of Belleville, because I believe we're going to be over in St. Clair County here, it took him 2 days just to get to the location because the roads were just so muddy he couldn't even get there. So a lot of people, sightseers, people wanting to come and look, just any evidence they could have gathered would have been destroyed by just all the people showing up in the area before the sheriff could even get there. So that was unfortunate. Of course, back at this time, there wasn't even fingerprinting. There was very little they could have gathered anyway. So this story remains the oldest cold case in the St. Louis area region at nearly 150 years now. Obviously, it'll never be solved. Everybody's obviously long gone and deceased. So it's just a really terrible story. Like I said, I'd never heard about this before. So you probably have some descendants of these people in the area. Now, they call it the Saxtown axe murders. Now, we have Saxtown Road. I guess that region was sort of called Saxtown. And it was named by the German immigrants who would come into St. Louis, and then they would come over here and settle together in Saxtown, which they kind of named it after Saxony of Germany, the Saxtown name. So that's how it got the name. So we're getting closer to the area now. Now, we're not, my understanding is this property is not actually on the Saxtown Road. It might have been Saxtown at one time, but it isn't Saxtown Road here anymore where this is located. Okay, guys, here is the property right here where these all happened. Here is the little house, and here is the barn where this the family obviously built this barn back in the 1800s. That house was built sometime before, sometime afterwards. There's a tree back there where there's some rocks, you can't see it there, where the family stones from the foundation, sandstones, they dug them up and they put those stones around the tree back there. But that is the barn that the family had their animals and their hay and everything there. And supposedly maybe the caskets were even put in there before the family was buried. So yeah, that's it. Just the barn's all that's left. So now we're going to head out to the graveyard where the family is actually buried in those unmarked graves. We'll check that out before the end of the video. So we'll be right back. Okay, this should be the cemetery here. So this is where we're going to be going. Should be over that way by those trees. This is obviously the newer tombstones. You see a lot of German names here. Mueller, Schneider. Of course, Schneider was the last name of the neighbor that found the family. So we're going to head on over there and we'll show you this. All right, so we're going to head on over to where the bodies are supposedly buried. I'm sure that the information that people share on this is accurate because the mother, Carl's wife, is buried out here. She was, she died about 8 years before this terrible axe murders occurred. So she's buried over here. So of course, that makes sense that the family may be buried here as well. So somewhere over here towards these trees here, we'll find it. Now, very old cemetery. Look, all these really neat old early 1800s. I think they've done a lot of restoration out here. As you can see, you typically would have a lot of broken over tombstones, grave markers, and they are all in pretty good shape. You see, just really neat. So let's see if we can find it over here. Should be rather easy to spot because it's just sort of an open area, if I remember correctly. We'll just have to search here for a moment. So we'll walk over this way and see if it's back over this way. So I said the mother, Carl's wife, grandmother, is buried out here. And I think we got some markers here. I wonder if, I don't know. I think Maria Christie Schulteristi. I don't know. I wanted to think that this was the mother, though. We'll have to see. You know, so a lot of the stuff's in German. So let's see. What are these? Okay, this is it. They have just added a placard here. This is the family. This was not here that long ago, a year or two ago. I understand this was not here. So they have decided to honor the family. So you've got Carl, the father, Carl S., the little one here, who was not quite 3. You have Anna, Frederick's wife. You have the little baby Anna here, and then you have probably as F.A. Frederick or Fritz. So yes, we do have a memorial. That's cool. I'm glad to see they did this. If people knew this is where they were buried, so they decided to. But you worry about, I'm being respectful here, but people coming out and doing their paranormal investigations and things, it's just a bunch of nonsense that is disrespectful, I think, and to something horrific like this. It's just a matter of opinion. Some of you guys may disagree with me on that. That's fine. I'm not saying that I think paranormal investigators are weird. I mean, I think it has its place, but I can see why the church or the community would not want that. I believe this is part of the Mount Zion Church. Again, I think most of these people out here, I think it's Lutheran. Most of these were Lutheran immigrants. So I believe then this is Carl Senior. Well, it was the little boy Carl. But I believe this is the mother who died in 1866. So about 7 years before. I believe that is the case. I don't think this tombstone is any relation. It's a crick. It looks like this one actually is a 1799 to 1866. So a lot of stuff that's just right after the Civil War. Yeah, really interesting. They added this here. You can see some new grass growing in here, so in the straw. So this is very, very new. And it's really cool that they did this to remember the family. Again, I had never heard of this story. All right, so that's just sort of wrapped up. I know it's a rather brief video, but I didn't want to make a super long video. Some of you guys don't want to sit through a long video and basically see the same details as I'm providing this, being that I live very close by to this incident. So I'll also include a link down in the video description to like article about it, something to give you guys a little more information than what I was telling you by memory while we were driving in the car. You can check that out. And if you do decide to come out, and just, like I said, be respectful for everything like I did. Don't trespass on the owner's property or anything like that. And if you want to, obviously contact Eckert, is the guy's last name that owns the property. He's been in quite a few videos and local news station stories, so he seems pretty cool. But all right, guys, again, this will be a one-off. Obviously, my channel's more RC drones, real cars, stuff like that. But every once in a while, I like to do something different when I find something just really fascinating that I want to share. If you're interested in any of that kind of stuff, please consider subscribing to my channel. Click the bell, that way you're notified when I upload new videos. And as always, guys, have a happy Halloween.